Welcome everyone to another video going over the Ancient Roman Patrician Gentes, or families. And today we will go over the Gens Sempronia, or Gens Sempronii. But before we dive into the family tree, don't forget to like the video, comment on who is your favorite member of the family, and don't forget to subscribe to increase your knowledge of the ancient Romans. But with the shilling out of the way, let's begin. Firstly, I have to quickly explain the concepts of naming the Romans had, especially during the Republican era, 509 BC to 27 BC. There are three, quote, names, unquote. The praenomen, nomen, and cognomen. Praenomen is the personal name. Names like Aulus, Gaius, Lucius, and Marcus. The nomen is the family name. This identified an individual with his or her family. Families like the Julii, Fabia, Aemilia, and Valeria. The cognomen was most often a descriptive adjective designated to a particular founder of the family branch. The most famous example is Caesar, which is most likely translated as, quote, head of hair, unquote. These are really basic definitions, but hopefully they convey just enough info to explain the Gentes. Also, sources will be put in the description below. However, I got this particular information from Wikipedia, which I know is not the ultimate source of truth, but it does contain other sources to better explain the topic. For this video, we will attempt to trace the family members of the Gens Sempronia. Now we will only be looking at the Patrician branch of the family, which was active during the early Republic, but seems to have simmered down shortly afterwards. There are other branches of the family, but these are plebeian in nature, so outside the scope of this video. Lastly, I will be attempting to use the correct pronunciation, which in this case is the classical Latin of the late Republic/early Empire, for the names, and I will be using dates from both our time and how the Romans perceived it. Finally, only ancient sources will be considered in this video, so any potential translation will be by my own hand. That being said, let's see who's who in the Gens Sempronia. For the Patrician branch, we start off with Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, consul of the year 257 ab urbe condita, or AUC for short, which is about 497 BC our time. From here on, we will associate the members of the family with the first year of their consulship. During his consulship, according to Livy, a temple to Saturn was dedicated, and the Roman tradition of Saturnalia was instituted. He also mentions that his consulship saw corn being brought up from Sicily, and the question arose on how to give it to the plebes, given their recent interactions and tensions. Dionysius of Halicarnassus writes about how Aulus Sempronius Atratinus was put in charge of a military force to defend the country with youths. He also writes that Aulus Sempronius Atratinus was appointed as interrex for some time before appointing another interrex. It is also possible that Aulus Sempronius Atratinus could have served a second consulship in 263 AUC, 491 BC, from other unconfirmed sources, and might have passed in 268 AUC, 486 BC. There are no sources that go in depth as to the ancestry of the family branch, neither ancient nor modern sources that I searched. So any ancient or noble or divine origins are either lost to time or well hidden, so thus we have to resort to speculation. The next member in this family is Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, consul of the year 310 AUC, 444 BC. According to Livy, Aulus Sempronius Atratinus was one of the first of military tribunes with consular powers, so-called consular tribunes, and brought peace to the land. However, in the face of a decision from the augurs, consular tribunes of that year resigned after 3 months in office. Dionysius of Halicarnassus writes that plebeians wanted to be military tribunes, but when the people voted, 3 patricians were elected instead, including our own Aulus Sempronius Atratinus. Not much else is said about this family member, but using some speculation, as we lack the sources to confirm it, we can assume that this is the son of the consul of the year 257 AUC, 497 BC, and brother to the consul of 310 AUC, 444 BC. The next member we have is Lucius Sempronius Atratinus, consul of the year 310 AUC, 444 BC. According to Livy, Lucius Sempronius Atratinus and another man were elected consuls by an interrex. During this consulship, a peace treaty with Ardea was renewed. Livy states the following, quote, "This is the sole proof that they were the consuls for that year, for they are not found in the ancient annals nor in the official lists of the magistrates. The reason, I believe, was that since the beginning of the year there were military tribunes, the names of the consuls who replaced them were omitted as though the tribunes had continued in office through the year." End quote. Livy goes on to say that Lucius Sempronius Atratinus and his partner were elected by suffrages of the people to conduct the census. This was done to make up the incompleteness of their consulship. Hence, from their duties they discharged, they were called censors. Dionysius of Halicarnassus writes, "After the abdication of military tribunes, an interrex was chosen, and on election day the people were given an option to try consular tribunes or consuls. The people chose consuls in keeping with tradition. The 2 consuls elected were Lucius Papirius Mugilanus and Lucius Sempronius Atratinus, brother to the resigned tribune. They governed the Romans for the year, but they are not recorded in annals, and some documents call them tribunes, others consuls, and some both. Nothing notable occurred during their consulship other than a peace treaty with the Ardeates. It is possible that Lucius Sempronius Atratinus could be the brother of the consular tribune of 310 AUC, 444 BC, and the son of the consul of 257 AUC, 497 BC. But apart from the above sources, nothing else is known relating to their lineage, to himself, or to anything else. So we have to use speculation. The following member of the family is Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, who was consular tribune for the year 329 AUC, 425 BC. Livy writes, "The tribune was elected and oversaw a truce between Veii for 18 years and Aequi for 3 years. No civic or public disturbances occurred." The next mention is when, for a second time, Aulus Sempronius Atratinus was elected consular tribune in 334 AUC, 420 BC. Livy notes that he oversaw the election of the quaestors, and that some dishonesty over the whole incident was the result of his cleverness. The final mention is his election of 338 AUC, 416 BC, where nothing of note took place except some contentions over an agrarian law. Diodorus Siculus references only the magistrates in power, stating that Aulus Sempronius Atratinus was in power 3 distinct times. His familial ties are not clearly stated, apart from being nephew to Gaius Sempronius Atratinus, in which Aulus's election of the quaestors was used as cause to attack his uncle Gaius. However, how he relates to other members besides his uncle is a matter of speculation, and at the end I will show a family tree of what I think is the most likely outcome of the family. The second to last member of the family is Gaius Sempronius Atratinus, consul of the year 331 AUC, 423 BC. According to Livy, and emphasis that I'm really paraphrasing what is said here, he was elected consul and then proceeded to rashly lead an army against the Volscians due to baseless rumors. After finding the enemy, the tables were turned and the Romans were run out of the country, so to speak. The consul and the remaining Romans were saved by a regiment of cavalry. They were led all the way back to Rome, defeated but alive. The enemies of the Sempronia used this to get some payback, although they were waiting for a favorable opportunity. Once this defeat occurred, a trial was called for and Gaius Sempronius Atratinus was put on trial for the disaster against the Volscians. However, the cavalry commander helped defend his commander enough for the trial to end inconclusively. A tribune of the plebs tried to restart the trial, insulting him and making passionate speeches, but he then dropped it. When his nephew, Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, oversaw the election of the quaestors, the political enemies decided to attack Gaius for the actions of his nephew, Aulus, by using the aforementioned Volscian campaign disaster. As the trial came closer, the tribune of the plebs used some agrarian land reform that was an issue at the time to sour his relations or his standing with the plebs. This worked, and the trial came, and he was ultimately fined. And that sums up Livy. Again, sources down below. Apart from his relation to his nephew, Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, there is no other mention of his family or who he's related to. It's sort of just, again, left to speculation. And now, the last family member to cover is Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, who held the title of Magister Equitum during 374 AUC, 380 BC. According to Livy, quote, "At last, abandoning sedition for war, they nominated Titus Quinctius Cincinnatus as dictator. He named Aulus Sempronius Atratinus as his master of the horse." End quote. And it seems that Aulus followed his dictator for 20 days with the fight against the Praeneste. Afterwards, no other mention is made. Not a lot can be said, and we only have this passage of Livy to go off of. So family-wise, speculation is again our only recourse. As I stated before, there are plebeian branches of the Gens Sempronii, and I will briefly mention them here. There are the Sophi, which had 2 consuls, Lyci, which had 1 consul and other offices. There were the Tuditani, which had 4 consuls and held other offices. There were the Longi, which had 2 consuls, as well as other offices. There were the Rutilii, which just held other offices. There were the Muscae, which not a lot is said. There were the Acelonies, which only held other offices. And finally, the most famous of the Gens Sempronia, the Gracchi, which held 5 consuls and other offices, but they are most famous for the Gracchi brothers. There are other members of the Gens Sempronia that are mentioned, but that won't be discussed in the video. Now, let's go over the family tree. From the graphic, we could see what I believe to be the Patrician branch or the Gens Sempronia. We start off with the quote-unquote founder of the branch, Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, who was consul in 497 BC. I'll be using the BC because that's what I have in the graphic. I believe, judging from the sources, he had 3 sons. The eldest of his sons was Gaius Sempronius Atratinus, who was consul of the year 423 BC. Then we have, following him, Aulus Sempronius Atratinus, who was consular tribune in 444 BC. And then after him, we have Lucius Sempronius Atratinus, who was consul of the year 444 BC, right after his brother. We know, but it is referred to by the sources that Lucius and Aulus are related, so we know that for certain. Their placement, I don't know, so that's why I put Aulus first and Lucius second. Now, I decided to make Aulus Sempronius Atratinus of 425 BC be the son of Aulus Sempronius Atratinus of 444 BC. The reasoning here is just because it looked nice to me. We know that Aulus of 425 BC is nephew to Gaius, Gaius's brother's son. Now, it could be Aulus of 44 BC, as I mentioned here, or it could be Lucius of 44 BC as well. But I think Aulus and Aulus works. Now we have Lucius of 44 BC. I put Aulus Sempronius Atratinus as either son or grandson of Lucius Sempronius Atratinus of 44 BC. It could also be that he is son of Aulus of 425 BC, but to me, there isn't enough information from the ancient sources to make any sort of definitive saying, so I'm speculating at this point. That being said, this is what I propose to be the family tree of the Gens Sempronia. If you have a different idea, then please comment down below, but otherwise we will stick with this. The Gens Sempronia are a historied family and are among the families that were around at the founding of the Republic. They are called ancient and noble, and as for both labels, I cannot corroborate. While the actual family members existed and their acts are recorded, to say that they had some divine or foreign origins is just speculation. As for noble, I have to say that they did exist, they were elected, and they did their job. If by noble the term patrician is meant, then of course they were. And as for ancient, to us they are ancient. Otherwise, a short-lived patrician branch that has been succeeded by many and varied plebeian branches. Hopefully this is sufficient, although not exhaustive. Look at the Gens Sempronia. With that, we are at the end of the video. If I have missed something with sources or pronunciation or with missing patrician family members, I apologize. Also, if my pronunciation was all over the place, I do apologize for that too. I will link a document to the sources that I used and their passages, because I put passages that included any mention of any of the family members into this document with where they are located in the book. So their title, the author, and where they're located. Thank you for watching this video. Please check out my other video going over the Gens Salii, link in the description below. And as always, gracias vuestro mercedes. Viva Cristo Rey, arriba España, adelante España. Adiós.